Here we are. How you
Going
doing?
on, Anton?
Oh, I'm just hanging in there.
Yeah?
Yeah, let me see.
Who's your friend?
The people that are here. Wow, I had that on too quiet for a minute. I got Butch Huffington here, and also Spliffriff, a German 10-year-old boy. But don't worry, there's adults.
Water, yeah.
I haven't checked the news today. I wonder what's going on in the world. I know that Russia. I've already read a couple really weird things. What like such as there was one report from RT News. Let me go down here that said, let's see. Just looking really quick. RT said Russia can prevent a military operation against Iran. That is just that's from Russian television, saying Russia should. Oh, but then it goes on to say Russia should do its best to prevent a military operation in Iran.
Yeah, they got money.
They don't need money, man, because the rest of the world is phony money. See, only thing Iran has to trade
Oil.
with. Only thing Russia's got tons of oil. They don't need to trade oil. They don't need to trade technology. They don't need to trade. Certainly not food with Iran. The only thing, Russia eventually, the only thing that they share, that they have a common interest is Russia knows that the Caspian Sea is the biggest honeypot of oil on the planet.
Yeah.
Unless there's something in Antarctica that's even bigger, which is possible, but who knows, right?
You got right into it. You got to warm me up a little bit,
What?
You got to warm me up. You can't just jump right into it.
All this stuff. Okay. Well, what I'm saying, basically,
Let's move the party.
in a nutshell, this is real serious business. What's going on? They're not trying to just spook the markets by bringing this up. You don't care.
No, I'm just moving. Keep
Okay.
talking.
Well, you realize that there's probably no way to fight the Iranians without a bunch of their people dying. If we show any modern war, if we use any modern examples, like of the Iraq thing, right?
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of civilians, right?
It can target your spots, but hold on. There's too much of an echo. And I've got the dead TV mute, so I don't know what's going on.
I think your Skype is actually too loud. Maybe your Skype one is picking
Let me
it up.
try turning. How about that?
You're doing pretty good now. What I want to say is, and also Iran isn't helping themselves out at all by saying, well, the first thing we're going to target is the Israeli atomic complex. You know that. If you attack us, ours, that's fair game. So then,
Grab some.
right? Of course, I really don't know that Iran has missiles that could destroy that the way the West has missiles that can, obviously. We know that Israel has missiles that can destroy an hardened atomic plant because they blew the shit out of Iraq's one back then in 82 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So we know that Iran has the same thing we do with those hardened bunker busting things. We know that Russia has that kind of stuff and we have that kind of stuff. The US has it. We know Israel has it because they used it. They wasted the Iraqi plant, but it wasn't finished all the way. But also the advantage that, that Israel has, so we got all those joint efforts with those. It's beyond the little Patriot battery system. It's this crazy ones that they've got now that they're working out. It's real expensive to operate it, but I'm sure they're going to be operating it a lot if anything happens.
Yeah.
The problem with something like that, though, what makes this such a really weird situation is Israel would also then have to totally flatten Gaza, because if you've got all those little you've got these systems, not little, but these sophisticated systems to shoot down incoming missiles, then in theory you could just shoot a bunch of little things at it and tie up the system with a bunch of little junk. Meanwhile, you fire bigger ones at the same time. So that's the main problem also with Gaza and those guys, for whatever reason, launching mortars and missiles over the wall at Israel, because then it's kind of like tying up the system for the big stuff.
Yeah. It's too delicate. I mean, if they go into Iraq, they would have to have a ground war, and then the bulk of the people there support the U.S. and democracy, and they want to see the government overturned.
No,
and then
not even close to majority. That's propaganda. The majority of the people in Iran wanted the U.S. out. A lot of people don't dig that. But then there's also... Are you talking
about the revolution in the 70s? Because we talked about this last time about revolutions getting hijacked.
But they still, trust me, there's no question that they follow the Ayatollah, even if they disagree with the president.
No, I disagree with that.
Well...
Because I have friends who go back and forth. I have a friend who just went there and recorded an album. He lived there for 2 years.
There's a lot of people in Iran. There's a lot of ethnic people. There's all kinds of people that are not into this fundamentalism mumbo jumbo. I understand what's going on, but there is a fuck of a lot of people in the multitudes, like more than the whole population of Iraq, that support it, that are very, very much behind the Islamic Revolution.
They're anti-West, but that's a tough one. But the people who have power pan-Arab state, like they're in Syria.
They're not Arabs though, but there's a weird thing, but I know pan-Arab nationalism.
Yeah.
But it's really complex. But the problem with this stuff is beyond any sort of dialogue, right? You've got these neoconservatives that really a long time ago they decided to do this shit. So that interferes with what anybody really says or what's really going on. Because these people, like if you're reading the LA Times or any of it, these people are the policy writers. Like Gary Schmidt, you can look him up on Google. And then you can look that he was in Project for a New American Century. And you can look it up right now that he's in this new one. And then you can look up that this is John Bolton and all these guys are in the same thing. And they're telling everybody what to tell you. And there's no way you can get an objective thing. And I'm not sticking up for Iran. I'm just saying, let's take Iran out of the picture. These guys, these Straussian guys, that's our news, man. They're telling the news. See, if you're a news reporter, you don't go research Jack Diddley squat. You're reading from the news department. And these people have an agenda. For whatever reason, they decided a long time ago. They decided when the Shah was overthrown that was too much. So the reason that the Shah was installed there in the first place was for a reason.
Well,
yeah, but also that was when the pan-Arab thing was going on with Nasser and all that shit, when there was real revolutions.
Well, the enemy is my friend sort of thing, so.
Yeah, but that works a lot of different ways too,
I gotta step away for a bit. Talk to this handsome bearded guy.
Yeah, no problem. I don't want people to think that I'm defending any of the rotten stuff that those people do.
Yeah. No, it doesn't come off that way to me. I mean,
I'm sorry to talk over you, but we're so smart though. You see, other people aren't that smart. It's really easy to mishear something or something. I was just talking about the way I see it.
Like you said, most people go off what they see on the news,
right?
And they take that as law.
Yeah.
And unfortunately in this country we don't have much news anymore. We have opinion.
It's really weird, and it's so weird to sell it like a brand. It's a
product.
Yeah, but it's a flavor, and it's so against information. It's like, no,
right.
We can't tell you this or that because it doesn't jive with either the corporate sponsor or entanglement or with the party line. So,
journalism is dead in this country.
Yeah, you want to believe the blogs and all that stuff, but man, it's so all tied up into the same thing. You know, like CNN used to have this axe to grind where they were trying to be this thing that the networks didn't possess, and try and be loose and fast and furious and worldwide and all this stuff. And then, but that's all a part of the same thing too. Completely discredited. After Desert Storm, they were so discredited with all those videos of them faking incoming scuds and shit from the TV set. It was so, you can still watch those videos. It's just absolutely amazing that they would do that, Like, there's an incoming scud. I'm right here. Wait, duck. With their helmet on, and they're not even. You can still find those videos on YouTube. It's just like nobody even cares. Like after seeing something like that, it's like, how could you ever even take anything seriously from any of these channels?
It's not only that, but also I remember seeing one a couple years ago. It's real funny. They're it's during one of the hurricanes in Florida.
Yeah.
And the reporter's in a boat, acting like she's rowing.
Yeah.
And the guy walks by because the water's only probably a foot deep. It's comical, but at the same time, it's not. It's disturbing.
Yeah, they did. I was watching this one live update from the Weather Channel when they were talking about the big hurricane that was going to hit, the New York and all that stuff. And the person was like leaning into the wind and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, people started dancing by and mooning it. And then this is serious. There's already been 2 fatalities from accidents. Like he tried to recover his composure for faking that it was like this big landfall thing.
Right.
As drunk people are mooning him and flipping him off and stuff. And then it's like, oh, well, you're making light of this and 2 people have already died.
Yeah.
So. Well,
it's news. The media is. It's big business. They're there to make money. And let's be honest, though, Anton. Let's be honest.
Okay.
People want to see the violence. They want to see conflict. It sells. The happy shit doesn't sell.
Do you guys know that Gaddafi was well on his way to building this insane thing where they were pumping all this water from the aquifer of the Sahel Desert there, the Sahara, I mean? Like massive amount of water underneath the desert sands and that all of North Africa, and they were building this water project that was the biggest one on the planet, and we just completely blew it up.
We blew up the plant?
Blew the shit up. No, it's more than a plant. It's this pipeline, pumping stations and pipeline that goes across the desert.
That would have helped a lot of people, right?
Yeah, well, they could turn all of Libya back. The Vandals walked from Germany. The Vandals walked from Germany all the way to Spain and then went there. That's where Carthage and all that stuff was, right?
Right.
And they used to live there. Germans, like Roman times, and then they went across and they sacked Rome.
Okay.
When Rome went to go get back their cities, their capital there, Tripoli, when the boats pulled up, they snuck onto the boats, kicked those guys' asses, and took their own ships back to Rome and then sacked Rome. But anyways, they used to grow all kinds of shit there with the irrigation until they knocked out that irrigation, then it became a desert. Libya's not, there's parts of it that are a desert. There's parts of it there's plants too, But
yeah.
They were going to turn it into really like amazing, but they blew that shit up. And something tells me that's never going to get built again.
Yeah.
But, the other weird thing is, like, when they use all that fucking irradiated rounds when they're in these airplanes willy-nilly, like, they should only use that stuff when they really have to. But they just whip that shit out all over Iraq. See, that's what I don't want to see, like, this whole thing go down, which I'm certain it will.
Yeah.
So,
well, you large amount of money in anything, something's going to get fucked up.
Well, just the concept that, Israel can't have those guys, like the way that they say, and Iran says they're not stopping.
Yeah.
So, take your bets.
Yeah, we're down with Israel, so.
Well, it has to do with all kinds of stuff, But none of those 3 countries are taking the phony money anymore. So that's a major problem.
Yeah.
Like, even China's just not buying it right now. So they'll tell you on the news that production and exports down in China, but they're not buying it either.
That's what scares me about, because we have diplomatic relations with China, but,
we almost didn't. Yeah, none of you guys remember that Joe Biden had to go over there for like fucking 2 weeks, and that President Hu had to come over here unannounced to Washington. Do you remember at the beginning of this year what was going on? We were at war with those guys. But
they shoot down our shit and stuff,
Well, I know, but we're not supposed to talk about that because the U.S. news it was a footnote on the Voice of America where they said, why would the Chinese news just show this clip from Top Gun and say that People's Liberation Army shot down some jets?
Yeah.
That's what they literally said. They're like, why did they just show this news clip from Top Gun on TV? This is like the second time they've done that.
So, yeah, it's definitely...
Because we want people to feel safe,
Yeah. It's not just oil, it's strategy. It's like long-term strategy, like positioning themselves.
Well, to me, it looks like when they kick this ball off, rolling, that they made it so you can't turn back, whether it's the financial thing or anything. It's not up for debate. You can't go, oh, I'm the new president, we're going to pursue a different policy. You can change a little bit about it, but you can't stop. It's really weird. It's really weird, They learned their lesson from like that kind of situation, I think.
Look at all the conflict we have now, and imagine when resources really are starting to become scarce in another 50 years when we have 9 billion people. Imagine the conflicts we're going to see then. It's sad that we're still living like this. We're living. It seems like such a barbaric age in the 21st century still.
Definitely.
It's just our lack of intelligence.
Well, criminal negligibility, like they let people off the hook for being retarded or having a low IQ of like 50 or whatever, because they're like, you don't even understand what's going on. So what makes it such a crime is that people do understand and they overlook it at the same time.
Yeah.
They just ignore it. But, like we should know better. But the weird thing, I brought this up a couple times today because it's sort of the theme of today. It's like, I'll reframe it with you once more. It's like every time civilization just gets to this point where it promises there's like so much potential to do all this really cool shit, and then like something pops up and then it's like postponed.
Right.
From ever becoming this thing that you could be really proud of.
No, right.
And the last big one was the internet thing, right? They were like, well, look at all this shit we're going to do. It's going to be liberating. The communication and the information people are going to be study, and it's going to make all this shit possible. People are going to be able to work at their own time, maybe create a new, and then it's like, oops, but wait. We got to have these wars or do this other thing. Oh, the economy crashed. You can't do that. It's like every single time I'm ripped off, like several times in my life.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's distraction, Well, it's like you can distract people. You can keep their minds off the real issues.
Well, I just don't see what the problem is to first of all articulating that you aspire to some sort of greatness for your culture or your people or humanity. Is that crazy talk? I mean, I want to be fucking impressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to just go, wow, I didn't see that coming. That's brilliant. Because
we have some really cool technology. We make some really cool shit. I try to look at things like what if they're I'm sure with 200 billion galaxies, each with 200 billion stars, I'm sure there's another civilization out there.
Okay, let me interject this thought. You know what? Stands to reason that there's going to be like fucking 200 million more galaxies full of assholes. We've sent explorers to everywhere, and guess what? They're dickheads.
Right.
You think people are cool to be a little bit more primitive? You think Africa's any cooler when they're whipping out machetes, cutting everybody up?
Yeah.
It's just like stands to reason they're going to be dickheads too. So don't be in a hurry to discover whole new fucking races and...
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I wonder how they would, if there was another species that was, let's say they were observing us, how they would view us,
I think it would, they'd be like yes, maybe no. Just like there's only 3 ways you could be. See,
Yeah.
there'd be proton, electron, and neutron. Positive, think it was interesting, or they'd be sitting on the fence about it, or they would be repulsed by it. There's no other reactions.
Right.
There is no other reaction possible.
I would have to think they'd be amused anyway, watching us assholes.
Like in a divine tragedy, is God has to laugh, else he would be crying, kind of way.
Yeah.
It just absolutely. A lot of this stuff, a lot of this stuff, I go, okay, I know exactly what we could do, and it's like, no, we can't do that because that's too easy, and so. It's really weird. It's like the way that it is the way that they want it to be. It has to be, man, because I looked everywhere. I searched every single stone that I can think of. And I mean, it just reinforced me, like I was saying before, them voting in the House to reaffirm God and God we trust. It's like, what a waste of life that those people are.
Absolutely.
It was not even a discussion whether to remove that from the bill. And the God on the dollar bill is not the God of Israel, man. The pyramid, it's the God of Pharaoh. It's the other guy's God. Into discussion, and if I'm wrong, you can Skype me right now. Anton Newcombe, Berlin. If you work for the government and you say that's blasphemy, well, then you can call me up or something, because I'm just pointing out the obvious.
Absolutely. Well, religion evolved just like everything else evolves,
Well, yeah, they
Judaism came from the Egyptian religions, and then Christianity came from Judaism, and Islam came from Christianity.
Yeah, the Babylonians, man, they drugged that stuff from Sumner. They dragged that carcass around.
Right.
Every time it gets fucked up, they go and do it someplace else.
It's so obvious. It just seems so painfully obvious, and people just fucking, like sheep. They just fall right in line.
See, but sheep don't shit on each other that same way that human beings do. So I hate it when people drag the animal comparisons into it. Out of the kingdom, I mean, animals prey on each other, and they compete against each other. They do all this other stuff, but they don't do like derivatives.
They do it out of necessity.
They don't do derivatives trading on grass.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. Someone write that down in the chat room.
Yeah.
It's kind of silly.
Good quote.
I like it.
Yeah. So what are you guys' plans today?
I got work. We're working, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's glad to be working.
Not for long when the NSA calls your boss and says you're fired. Those guys are calling me. Saw them on Dead TV this morning.
Yeah.
Read the small print in here.
Asking you, does part of you like being a lightning rod, like, for this stuff? Is part of you sticking that out? You just say hi to my roommate.
Yeah.
Hey,
hello, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great over here.
Guy. What up, my man?
Hey, how are you?
This is Dustin.
Dustin, yeah.
Very cool. Dustin's treehouse. How does that work in a state with no trees? Except up by Flagstaff.
What's that?
I said, how does Dusty have a treehouse in a state with no trees?
Dusty's got no treehouse. We got a lot of shrubbery in the back patio.
I just moved here a week ago.
I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
I know all about that First Avenue and all that crap.
Oh yeah, First Avenue. There you go.
In the 400 bar.
400?
400 bar whiskey.
Yep, the Sullivans are my buddies. Now I've got them busted because the NSA is going to go fire them. Tell them they can't have a bar anymore. So, let's see. You guys are going to go to work. I'm going to go to work. Okay, you asked me a question. You said, do you get off on being a lightning rod or something?
Yeah.
Well, I just call it like I see it,
I went through a phase, I think I told you, I kind of wanted them to come and get me. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not worried about that. I mean, because I'll give them a headache.
Yeah.
But the reality is, what I said all this shit was going to happen with the money thing. So,
yeah.
Whatever. It doesn't matter what the TV told you that it wasn't going to happen or that they got a plan. I can tell you what's going to happen next. So I know exactly what's going to happen. And I'm pretty cool. Like, most of the time I won't tell.
What?
Most of the time I won't tell people when I know what the big plan is. If I think it's like civically irresponsible, I don't mention it.
Yeah, like streaming fire.
Well, I don't tell anybody how to get into trouble or anything. There's stuff that can infuriate people. You know what I mean? Pretty piss them off. It is like yelling fire in a theater, exactly. But because ultimately, you know, people are supposed to just be happy and shop. That's what makes everything go round, supposedly. But then more than just the retail sales and all that jazz, there's the banking thing. Ugh. So bad. Fucking Italy, they can't even, there's no way to bail that thing out.
Yeah.
Trillion.
Jeez.
1.3 trillion. Pay up.
Yeah.
It's so funny. That number, 1.3 trillion, and Berlusconi goes, I swear right now, we're going to sell off state assets, and we're going to come up with an extra 5 billion every year. I'm like, cool. You do the math. 5 billion into a trillion. Figure it out. How many years is that going to take, buddy? I don't think the markets are going to wait. That doesn't even cover 7% interest on $1 trillion compound interest loan. Coming up with 5 billion a year isn't going to. That's going to keep you standing still, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well,
if it's 1,000 billion, right? 1,000 billion,
right?
And you're coming up with 5, right? It's going to take you 50 years. He doesn't have 50-year loans. That's just going to, you know what I'm saying? That plan doesn't work for a 5-year loan. It's just pointless for him to even say that. So we're going to see some very interesting things coming very, very quick. It has
always interesting things going on.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the you guys see those films of the police hitting those kids at Berkeley?
No.
Well, that's what they were doing. We just showed it a minute ago.
Yeah, just woke up.
That's okay. Well, I mean, that's not, like I said, it's not news, right? Students getting beat up.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
It's like reruns from the 1960s or something, right?
Well, those pictures you posted of the rubber bullets, like
what they do.
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing, pretty jarring, and it takes a lot to kind of shake me and that kind of.
Well, you know, the bottom line is like, okay, when you look at the fatality rates from certain places in the world where they've used those things, is it really, you're going to kill people for spray painting or busting a Starbucks window? There's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
It just says so much more about the person firing the gun than the people, the hooligans or whatever. There's lots of ways you can stop people from doing that stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
I just think it's bullshit when the government starts pointing guns at unarmed people. I don't care if they're rubber bullets or whatever. It's just like, you know, you pull out a gun because you're going to use it.
Yeah, I mean, you're likely going to want to use it if you have it. Like,
no, but more than that, when a policeman pulls out a gun, it's because he's going to shoot you. He wants you to know that. He's like, don't even make a move because you're that close to being dead.
Yeah.
Or worse, wounded.
Someone in the chat room posted that video of the cameraman getting shot. Like it's eerie because he's following the whole line of cops down, you know, from left to right, and then by the time he gets to the right, like you're waiting because you know it's going to happen because it's in the title of the video.
Have you seen the picture of what his leg looked like?
No. Or
his side or whatever? I think it was his leg. Completely just blood bruise all the way around.
Yeah.
With a big hole.
That's kind of fucked up. It's one thing to like control.
They already told him to split, but you know, so they already told everybody to split, and the crowd was like, "No, we're not leaving." So they already said that, but okay, so that's true, but still, fuck them for shooting people with rubber bullets. It's not even necessary whatsoever.
Yeah.
Didn't stop any protests, just brings lawsuits. They're just trying to play heavy-handed with everybody. But the problem
to a quicker end, I guess, like facilitate it blowing up. You know, like kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. You kind of like the crowd may be peaceful, but you jar them enough.
I really like. I thought. Okay, I'm gonna go on record. I thought for sure that the Brits were gonna end up whipping that stuff out yesterday, because they said they're authorized now, first time ever in the UK. Instead, what they did is they put shock troop undercover police in the crowd, and they had police in the front slowing down this big protest, like thousands and thousands of people. So they slowed it down. They had overwhelming police force show up, and then they put people inside, and as they needed, those people just grabbed individual troublemakers and just whisked them away. See what I'm saying? Just out of nowhere, somebody come up right behind you and just fucking grab you and drag you off to the side.
That's definitely more reasonable.
Way more reasonable for whatever reason. So, you know what? Like, I haven't emailed those guys because they're busy and everything. But I was watching, and I didn't even understand when they were... I saw the police stopping everybody as the protest was trying to push forward on the street. I was like, oh, this is it, man. Look, they got the cavalry and everything. But actually, they had a really good plan. They also, on the side streets, they put up 10-foot barriers. They just pulled them out of trucks and just stopped people from, like, splitting down the side streets or whatever. See what I'm saying? They said, okay, there's your protest. Like, you guys made a permit for this. Once they started, everybody, as it was going, they blocked up the streets. There was no way to get through those streets or even come up on it with your cars. So there was none of that fucking, oh, I'm going to run over 3 people, like happened twice in a row, once in D.C. and once in Oakland.
Yeah. Like you said, it's the beginning, man. You can only
well, this beginning, and here's the problem with peaceful protests, man. We live in a society where it's like instant gratification is the name of the game for everybody, for everything. They want it now.
Right.
Peaceful protest takes the longest to get everybody on board and to really affect change. You have to be fucking committed. You have to say, this is what my life's about, man. This is unacceptable, and this is what I'm working on, what we want, how to get it, and I'm learning about it as you're learning about how to deal with me. That's the only way. And it's like so rare. Do you know what I mean? When somebody possesses that kind of wisdom and that kind of commitment, right, and that's the type of character, when they die, you call them like a legend or like, do you know what I mean? They build a statue about you afterwards or some shit.
Superhuman,
and then a pigeon shits on you forever. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And then when you have that many people involved, you have that many cooks in the kitchen, there's going to be someone to fuck it up. And then, well,
you have to expect that. See, you have to fully expect. That's why I tell people, the protest is the weird place where anything can happen. It's mob, and the police are completely suited up. And like I said, every police force in America and in many of the Western countries, they're all militarized to this insane degree, right? Well, they're not that way because Al Qaeda is going to fucking come over here in a canoe. They're here because they fully expect all this stuff to happen.
Right.
And just when they're, many times when they present themselves that way, right, as in a totalitarian shock troop sort of way, then it brings it on. So that's why I wanted to thank. I was very thankful that the London police did what they had to do, and then people can take issue with the legality of individual cases, I guess. See what I'm saying? If they have a problem with that.
On that last round of riots they had about 2 months ago, what shut that down?
We don't know. You could take a conspiratist thing and said they allowed that to. Let me put you on hold, I guess. Oh, you got it. Anyways, check this out. You could take a conspiratorial tack, and you could say they allowed that to happen because then that turned public opinion towards it in the future of large-scale protests and civil disobedience, disorder, and chaos, that the public will demand strong action and a really militarized, like very efficient. They'll demand that it's put down. So you could. That's an argument for an MO a modus operandi for the state to allow that to happen. But you could also say that that was like sort of a perfect storm situation, right?
Yeah.
That when you're looking for the cause of that kind of social unrest, there are many causes. That's the only honest assessment. And everybody who tried to say that it was pure hooliganism or pure criminality wasn't exactly right, because there was like, there's a lot of different things. There's mob mentality at work. There are troublemakers, there are instigators, there are people that get, you know, that get swept up in the moment, and there is pure criminality too. There's a lot of different reasons.
How did it quiet down, though?
Eventually, they got their shit together with an overwhelming police force. Eventually, they put it like 15,000 police on the street, and started busting people left and right. Once they were there,
Yeah.
they started going around to people's houses and stuff, and identifying people. And they did this thing called shop. You're supposed to like grass a shopper, a looter. They put up trucks with a TV screen out at the malls and everywhere, and they said, "Do you know this person?" with the number.
Yeah.
They put that everywhere. And then they had worked on the detectives worked on with all their identifying things and all kinds of stuff.
TV cameras would be like 5 feet there.
Yeah, but a lot of that people don't understand. That's for an algorithm on the street. It isn't that they necessarily bust you from that. They can go back and get a lot of clues. But what they can do is they can film a street for a year and figure out like how long anyone at any random situation stops and looks at a billboard. And they can like computer alert you then. Eventually, when you figure out the algorithm of like you take a busy street and people are walking and walking and walking, and then somebody stops to spray paint. It's like 30,000 people walk down the street, one person stops, and there's the graffiti.
Yeah.
So then they can just tell right then, and that can alert you. So a lot of that stuff's for algorithms having to do with how people move, besides the total awareness thing.
Right, because they can't possibly watch all those cameras.
No, but the algorithms of the actual movements, they can chart with people's cell phones and everything exactly how you walk in the street, who stops to even take a look at the moon, over the course of a year. Showing this point to point how people traverse a street or any place, or traffic, anything.
Data, you can tell anything.
But a lot of the cameras too are in the recording, like the database, like the United States recording every single thing that's going on the whole internet, every single phone communication everywhere and all that stuff, is then they can go backwards once like who a person's connection. You can go backwards and do like this is what all these people are up to and their connections, and this is where this person would run to. There's a lot of possibilities in it. You got one of these Sea Org hats on now too?
You took mine.
I took his because the sun is killing me. I'm Irish.
That's okay. You hate the sun.
I don't hate it. I just it hates me.
It hates him, yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you about the music stuff, because I've been reading some older interviews of yours.
Okay.
Free time, because I'm like that, and it seemed like you'd seen the writing. I'm curious when you saw the writing on the wall in regards to music and distribution, and when you felt like the path that you've taken is the right path, which I think is the right path. And it's very interesting how you've done it to increase your market share. But like,
well, you know what? It's like Greg, who's in the chat room probably right now. Him and I, and Mike Cubisty, and to a lesser extent, this guy Brad Wilson, and our friend Patrick, who now works for like Merrill Lynch or somebody, in Hawaii. Smart guy too. We would send out tapes to everybody, record companies and all that kind of shit, trying to get like Geffen or anybody to go. And, sometimes they send a letter back and they go, and it'd be really mean. They send us one back. They're like, really great recording, guys. You guys sound like The Cure. Thing is, we already have The Cure. Later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like Cool. You guys really sound like the Chameleons UK. The thing is we already have the Chameleons UK. Bye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just fucking insult you.
Everybody's got an opinion.
Well, they didn't say that to fucking U2 when U2 ripped off everything about Echo and the Bunnymen and said, we're Echo and the Bunnymen, but we're going to pretend we're Christians too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They do that all day long too, but they want to be the one to have it under their control. But I just knew everybody was fucked. Every single record deal was fucked. The whole industry, the history. You know, I loved garage music and stuff. By the time I hooked up with Greg Shaw, between him and I, we knew the whole system inside out. He had the first indie label. He signed Devo, and even as an indie label, it's like every single group. I mean, he invented Devo, basically. You know what I mean? Put them on the map. All this shit. That song, that's what I like about you, na na na. You know, every single thing and the knack. You know, Ma Sharona, all that shit. And every single group, it'd be like the minute they had a hit, it'd be a major label suing him to get so he couldn't have that record anymore. And then those bands are all fucked. They don't even own anything.
Right.
It's refreshing to go to like YouTube and like click on one of your videos and not have the ad play before it and have it be a Vivo thing or something like that, and have like and to see you commenting on it and things like that. It's really
something.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only me, you know, because I saw that whole, you know, one thing that made an impact on me when I was like a teenager was watching Sunset Boulevard, that movie with William Holden. And it has like Eric von Stroheim, and who was the Gloria Swanson was, and Gloria Swanson is playing a former silent movie actress like she was, and Eric von Stroheim was the biggest fucking most revolutionary fucking director in Hollywood, this German guy, but he was a pervert.
Yeah.
He was this badass dude, and one time the final straw was like his whole office was patent leather, the walls with the little, like, you know, when you go to a diner and it has the little old like button, you know how it dips in like an old seat.
Yeah, yeah.
The whole office walls were black leather like that, and he'd dress up like World War I, you know, kind of like when you think of like the Prussians. He was like one of those dudes, like a full-on Prussian count, but movie guy. He was like the technological, like he brought all the mad skills because in Berlin they were doing that in the 1880s.
Yeah.
So he was like, Griffin and those guys were like fucking vaudeville house people, and he was like the real deal movie maker from fucking Germany. You know what I mean? And so, anyways, one time he got fired because he spent, it was like $10,000 back then or $100,000 making this crazy movie, right, with this castle they had built in LA and everything. And the Griffin at the studio got the bill. And it was for like literally 10,000 monogrammed silk underwear, right? Each one was monogrammed with each one of the extras' names, initials.
Wow.
But they weren't wearing their underwear. They were wearing suits, but he like had like these silk underwear. Each one had their individual thing charged to the studio. He used to do this shit. All of his movies, why they're so revolutionary, science films, they'd be like, okay, well, this is the part where we do the mad, decadent party scene. We need you to bring all your people, and you're coming here. We need you to be here at Thursday at 3 o'clock for this party scene. And it's going to be 900 people in this scene. This is the party in the castle, okay? And they go, okay. You'd show up, and the party would start. And they'd party for like 3 fucking days, and be filming a little bit, you know? Everybody's doing cocaine and heroin and fucking drinking. It's all like prohibition, and they're just like, ah! You know, and, you know, like, do you know what I'm talking about? He was like that style, like, this is great. Film it for 3 days and then just like use 30 seconds. But just party everybody to the moon, you know, the whole time. So they fired him after the 10,000 underwears thing because none of it was even in the movie. He just wanted even under the uniforms, they had this like Prussian fucking crazy like underpants. So they're like, fuck you. So anyways, in this movie, he is the famous director, which he was the famous director for her when she was young in the silent movies, and Buster Keaton, all these people play themselves, and he becomes like her butler, and he's like writing this. She still thinks she's famous. He's like writing all this fan mail, like, oh, your adoring fan, here it is. And he's doing it all day long, writing her fan mail. And it always bugged me, like, people not being egalitarian. You know, they're like, they think they're so fucking important, like, then they die in this house in Hollywood and nobody finds them for 3 years. That, you know what I mean? All these stars and shit.
That happened just recently.
Yes, it did. Happens all the fucking time. Leif Garrett, man, look how big that guy was. When I was a little kid, man, that guy was like the hot shit, man. He was Justin Bieber times 10 because he was the only dude. Amazing. Yeah. You know, full-on fucking bald crackhead. Nothing against bald people. And what I'm saying is just like, you know what I mean? It's like all the king's horses and all the king's men. Look at Michael Jackson. Just end up fucking dead.
Yeah.
Nobody's that important. There's nobody on this planet that we can't do without, you know?
And we understand there's psychos and all that shit, you know? Like, there are people that want to fuck you up and all that stuff, and money brings problems, but still, man, hey, it's only me.
Yeah.
Where's this 10-year-old German boy I was hearing about?
Oh.
He's sitting right next to me.
I'm here.
Let's talk about your friends. Who are they?
Hey,
This is a
10-year-old Bavarian import.
This is a Bavarian and also a Welsh person.
What?
He looks older than 10.
Well,
Spliff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spliff, and then way in the back is Butch Huffington.
So tonight, is your thing tonight?
Yes, it is. In fact, we have to get on a train pretty soon. I probably have to drink a glass of water.
So how's that going to play out? What's that like?
I don't know. I might have to go. I promised my wife I was going to go out to dinner, but who knows what's going to happen. I mean, I will go with her and get something, but I have to maybe go to Media Mart or something and get some equipment. I mean, cables or something.
Or what's going on?
We're going to show visuals and audio-visual projections.
That sounds awesome.
Like all those crazy Butch Huffington videos, but blown up way across the wall while everybody's drinking in a bar going, what the fuck are we watching? What have you done to my poor little German mind?
How'd you get synced up with him? What's the story there?
Well, I'm an artist and I know quality, so when I know something like that, then I'll put a feeler out. I'll like talk to that person. I'll email them. I'll try and get in touch with some of these people on this planet, like Jim Jarmusch, you know.
Yeah.
See, my son's mother starred in one of his movies, but she took this weird picture of him, and then I was like, oh my God, I got to use that picture for a record cover.
Yeah.
Well, you better contact him and ask him. So
Is
then
that strung out?
No, bravery, repetition, and noise.
Bravery, yeah.
And I said, you know, I want to use this picture that this woman took of you for a record cover. And he's like, why would you want to use me? I'm like, because you're fucking punk. That's why. You're my hero.
Yeah.
You're a great guy, Jim Jarmusch. I love you. That's why. And it turns out he is a real great guy. Let me give you an example of how great Jim Jarmusch is. When he went to go play his movie Ghost Dog Way of the Samurai, Channel 4 picked it up in the UK to play it. And right as they do that in LA and all these things, then all of a sudden they want to tack on that they're the producer, they're the person that brought you, put their name on it. You know, the producers and executive producers, it gets longer and longer as they start showing things. You don't notice so much on TV, but they do it even on TV. There's the producer for ABC that secured the deal so they could show this fucking Tom Cruise movie or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They do this endlessly. And so they said, yeah, we want to put these 4 producers on the end of this when we bring this to the UK. And he's like, oh, that's great. Well, I still owe $115,000 of my own money from filming this thing. So you want to be a producer's cool. Give me $250,000 right now. And you can put your name on there. Otherwise, fuck you. You know what I mean? These people want to be a producer, and he paid for it himself. And these people are like, oh, yeah, producer. I'm a producer. I want to show your movie. Oh, yeah, I'm the producer. And he's just like, cool. Cool. I still owe $1 million for making that movie. Give me the $1 million plus $200,000, and you can be the producer. And they're like, oh. So fuck them, right?
Well, I guess DIY is the name of the game. It's awesome. People do that.
Well, that's what we thought, like in theory. But you know, there's more editing stuff and there's more other stuff than there ever has been and we have less quality shit. So you tell me what the problem is. It must be something else.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
What a bummer though, that reality. Like when you're trying to like fish it out. I mean, there's more studios, there's more everything now, you know? There's more everything and less good stuff comes out. Less good TV. It's by design.
They keep remaking everything. Everything's getting remade.
Well, you know what? It's all cool that we're like treating transgender, gay, and lesbians with a lot more respect, right? A lot as a culture, right? Internationally, right? In the West. Except we're just treating everybody like shit now.
Treat you like equal, but we're going to treat everybody else like shit.
Join the fucking club, straight to the bottom of the sewer. You know? It's like, glad you guys could all come out of the closet. Dive into the cesspool with us now. You know? So bad, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I don't take up any of those causes. I did, like, in the 90s, I was hell bent on supporting ACT UP and all those people. Because it was just fucking criminal the way they were treating people with AIDS. It didn't even matter. Except for young Ryan White. You know what I mean? It's like people were getting it from transfusions and everything. The stigma and all that stuff is just like, fucking, this is revolution right now if you don't start helping your own people.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, man, yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, fucking, come on. All right, I got to let you guys go because I got to get going.
Right, rock and roll, man.
Thanks for calling.
Well, look.
Have a good night, man.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Calling again sometime.
All right, take care. Thanks for taking the call.
Thanks,
no problem. Bye.